Shabbat Shalom. We are continuing from last week our examination of the Egel HaZahab, the golden calf, this most important and famous episode in our people's history. But I want to go into a slightly different aspect tonight than we have already discussed. When the golden calf has been made, and when Moses comes back down, he confronts his brother Aaron, his brother Aaron, and says, to put it into modern vernacular, "Dude, what were you thinking? Why did you do this?" And Aaron's response is, well, the people, they were demanding. They were pushing. And yeah. And Moses sees that the people had gotten out of control. But it also says that he saw that Aaron had let them get out of control. How are we to understand this? On the one hand, I hope that we are a little sympathetic to Aaron. Imagine, if you will, that you are Aaron. Your brother Moses has been gone for 40 days. The mob is getting restless. They are still a motley crew that has just left Egypt, not yet sure of their place in the world, not yet sure of their destiny, not yet sure of anything. And they are demanding answers. And you have none to give them. Do you just say, "Calm down, everyone, it's fine. I know we're in the middle of nowhere. I know the guy that led us here has disappeared for 40 days, but look, it's a beautiful day. Tomorrow will be better. It's okay." Do you just try to placate them and tell them that there is no problem? Or do you say, "You're absolutely right," and whip them into a fury, storm the mountain against what God had agreed, storm off away from the mountain as though that might be a solution? Or maybe if you're Aaron, you try to find some sort of compromise, as we talked about, to spin things out, to hope for little things to be better, but not to actually confront the mob, just to slow it down and move it in a slightly better direction. Moses did not seem happy with that, because Moses is a man of great purity and constitution who didn't really understand the concept of compromise. When we come to analyze our own problems, sometimes we are trapped between the side of Moses, inflexible, uncompromising, and strong to perhaps the nth degree, or bending and compromising and always flexible and accommodating, again, beyond what would be a normal measure if we are Aaron. But difficult questions sometimes demand a slightly different answer than either of those extremes. When Judaism tells us about how to handle a capital offense, a crime for which the penalty is death, for example, murder, there's a very interesting procedure of how that court will be handled. It is not simply all those in favor of finding the guy guilty, raise your hand, all right, let's execute him. Instead, the judges have to analyze and ask the witnesses all the questions, which is a rigorous process, and then each of the judges have to present whether they believe that the accused is guilty or innocent. And they begin the process with the most junior of the judges. They say to whoever is most recently appointed to the bench, "What do you say?" Imagine, if you will, you are the youngest judge on the bench. You are dealing with the most serious of crimes, one that requires capital punishment if found guilty. And you've got to go first? Or how about we let the older guys go first, the people who are familiar and, more respected? Why pick on me, the young guy? It's like asking the new kid in class to go first. That just seems mean. Any idea of why we might ask the youngest on the bench to give their opinion before moving our way up until we reach the eldest person on the bench?
Because if the eldest person goes first, you might influence the opinion of the younger one.
The eldest, the most respected, the most learned goes first and says he is guilty or he is innocent. Then the younger judge, who looks up to and who respects that elder judge, might feel that, well, that's not how I look at the case, but if he says it, he's probably So, what he said. There would be conformity of opinions, simply out of a natural respect. It would bias the opinion of the court, simply from a positive virtue of wanting to show respect and deference to those who are more learned and who have more experience. And so we start with the youngest to make sure that their opinion is heard and that there is an accurate reflection of the will of the judges before we get to any sentencing, should that be necessary. But imagine you then go through and you find youngest to oldest, everybody agrees the guy is guilty. In Judaism, we do not actually celebrate this as a unanimous verdict. We instead say, wait, hold on, we need to re-examine this case. If there is unbroken unanimity in somebody's guilt in that first vote, and nobody spoke up for acquittal, nobody challenged the ruling of the group to say, well, wait a minute, I don't know if I'm 100% sure about this piece of evidence or this witness, then it is assumed that the court is biased. Because no one can possibly stand before the judges and not have at least one person who found one shred of evidence that perhaps would exonerate them from that crime. And if everybody agrees, then no one is actually doing their job seriously enough. But imagine what it must be like to have all the other judges say innocent, and one person to say guilty. That's not such a problem. But to have all the other judges say guilty, and one person say innocent. Imagine the pressure of saying, well, everyone else is saying guilty, I should probably go along. No. Judaism enshrines that that voice needs to be heard, and in fact, if it's not, then we're going to have to redo that part of the case until we find a voice, at least that will speak on behalf of the accused. But maybe there is reason to believe that they are not guilty of the crime. People talk nowadays about the difficulty of civil discourse, of being able to talk to people of opposing views. Think again of Aaron trying to talk to the opposing view among the Israelites who are clamoring for a replacement for Moses. And Aaron did not know quite how to answer them. He obviously didn't agree with them, but he also did not know how to oppose them. Moses, of course, would have opposed them, but he probably would have opposed them in a very angry and strident way. Instead, Judaism says, look, it's not about being in your own echo chamber or your own thought bubble where everybody agrees. Instead, what you need to make sure of is not that we are all together with people who agree, nor that we are all with people who disagree, but instead you need to be among a group of people who will respect you when you disagree, even if normally you don't. Let me try and explain that a little. People may talk about being trapped in an echo chamber with everybody who agrees, but I believe the bigger threat that Judaism warns us about is not being trapped in an echo chamber with people who we agree with, but being trapped in an echo chamber with people whom we disagree with, but are afraid to say so. Just as Aaron was unwilling to speak to that crowd and say, guys, I love you, guys, I respect you, and guys, we agree about 99% of the things, but this particular thing, I'm going to say no. To be able to be that lone voice, not against your enemies, that's easy often, but to be that lone voice against your allies, against your friends, against people with whom you normally would agree. And for those people to hear you in such a way, because you are speaking in a peaceful and calm and respectful manner, but they understand that your disagreement is not meant to be an attack, it's not meant to be an insult, but it's simply meant to say, look, I'm one of many, and from where I'm standing, I disagree on this issue. We are still together, we are still in this unified position, we are still on the same team, but I say we go left, and you say we go right. Let's continue talking about this. But to be afraid to say that, to be afraid to challenge your friends, your allies, that is more dangerous than being afraid to challenge your enemies. Because then we no longer know what we actually stand for. We only know that we are afraid of being called out for disagreeing. And Judaism cherishes disagreements. Judaism cherishes the closer to understanding what is the right thing to do. It may happen that one person is voted down and that person is found guilty and executed. But we need their voice in opposition to be sure that we are doing the right thing. So let us be willing to speak to our friends. Let us be willing to have disagreements. Let us make sure that we are willing to hear from our friends when they disagree with us. That what they are saying is not an attack, an assault, it is not an insult, but it is, in fact, a cherished part of Jewish life. And it's only by being able to have those disagreements, to hear them and speak them, that we are able to avoid